We all remember the smiling boy with the afro spinning on television, but growing up in the spotlight is a brutal game. The men in suits wanted to keep him in a safe little box, treating his evolution like a dangerous mistake. And waiting at number one, you will see how he crushed their doubts using a bassline and a pile of unwashed dishes. Today we are counting down 10 best-selling disco songs that turned Michael Jackson into a global icon. Number 10, Lovely One by the Jacksons, 1980. Have you ever felt like carrying the weight of the world while everyone just wanted you to dance? After tasting massive solo success, Michael was pulled right back into the family business. He wrote this track with his brother Tito. Honestly, you can hear the desperation in every beat. He needed to prove his magic could save the family name. Notice how heavy that bass sounds. But more importantly, listen to his breathing. Those vocal hiccups are not just a style choice here. They sound like a young man gasping for air under immense psychological pressure. Critics brushed it off as a safe repeat of his older work. They missed the truth. Fans felt the raw energy, pushing it to number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 on the R&B charts. Looking back, it breaks your heart a little. He was burning himself out to keep his brothers relevant right before leaving them behind. This exhausting, beautiful dance hit proved he was the sole engine of the group, taking his final steps toward becoming a global icon. Before we continue, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Leave a comment with your city, state, or country so I can say hello to our wonderful community. Number 9, Burn This Disco Out, Michael Jackson, 1979. Some songs are not meant to start a party, they are designed to kill it. Picture the scene in 1979. The world was getting completely burned out on disco. It was turning into a cheap corporate joke. But Michael and his producer Quincy Jones were not about to let the decade end with a whimper. They wanted to build a sonic bonfire. Listen closely to how aggressive those opening horns are. They do not sound like an invitation to dance. They sound like a warning siren echoing through an empty club at 3 in the morning. They did not even bother releasing this track as a single. Mainstream radio completely ignored it. And honestly, maybe that was the point. This was a private goodbye. If you were actually there, sweating under the fading lights of a mirror ball, you felt this in your bones. Michael layered his own voice dozens of times to sound like a ghost choir haunting the dance floor. You know that heavy, sinking feeling in your chest when the bartender finally yells last call? That is exactly what they captured on tape. It is the literal sound of letting go of your youth, wiping the sweat from your brow, and stepping out into the cold morning air of the 80s. It closed his best-selling album and buried the 70s with absolute dignity, leaving the throne wide open for his next move. Number 8, Can You Feel It? The Jacksons, released in 1980. Imagine sitting in your living room in 1980, turning on your bulky television and suddenly seeing a young pop star glowing like a literal god. Michael and his brother Jackie did not just want to write a song. They wanted to start a movement. Listen to the rhythm section. They tossed out the standard drum kits. Instead, they brought in cinematic timpani drums and a 30-piece adult choir. The result sounds incredibly heavy, almost like an apocalyptic warning rather than a dance track. But here is the wild part. American pop radio barely touched it, stalling out at number 77. The music industry did not get it, but Michael knew the real game was visual. They spent an unheard of $300,000 on a music video filled with special effects, literally showing him sprinkling magic dust over cities. He was manipulating our psychology through the screen, building a global cult of personality right before our eyes. Looking back, it gives you chills and maybe a little heartache. We were watching the exact moment he realized his own power, giving us a glimpse of the lonely, untouchable king he was about to become. Number 7. Get on the Floor, Michael Jackson, 1979. Your brain likes to think it is in control, but Michael knew exactly how to bypass rational thought entirely. He did not write this track by sitting at a piano with sheet music. He literally hummed that aggressive, snapping rhythm directly to bassist Louis Johnson in the studio. They were not just making a song. They were building a psychological trap designed to eliminate human hesitation. Listen to how hard Louis is hitting those strings with his thumb. That is not just playing an instrument, that is a physical assault on silence. Add in the live hand claps they recorded right there in the room, and the groove simply forces your body to move. You can actually hear the raw joy in Michael's voice as the rhythm locks in. Because it was never released as a mainstream radio single, only the hardcore club kids knew its secret power. It separated the casual listeners from the people who truly needed to sweat out their weekly sorrows. For anyone who felt invisible during the day, this hypnotic machine gave you permission to completely lose your mind. It proved he was not just a pop singer, but a master architect of human behavior. Number 6, Working Day and Night, Michael Jackson, 1979. Do you remember the exact moment your childhood ended? For Michael, it sounded like this. He wrote this entirely alone. Before the massive studios, he recorded the rough demo at his family home in Encino. And here is a detail that breaks my heart. To get that crazy rhythm, he had his little sister Janet and brother Randy banging on glass bottles and cooking pots. It was just siblings playing together, but it was also the last time his life would be that simple. The tempo is way too fast for a normal club track. It borders on pure panic. Listen to the percussion, and then listen to his heavy, desperate breathing mixed right into the music. He used his own exhaustion as an instrument. He was literally singing about a job consuming a man, while his own ambition was slowly eating him alive. Older critics thought the energy was too manic. They missed the point. The kids on the dance floor just felt the adrenaline, not realizing they were dancing to a cry for help. He performed this on every major tour, pushing his body to the limit until he would collapse backstage. Looking back now, you do not just hear a pop genius. You hear a boy running as fast as he can, terrified that if he stopped working, the world would stop loving him. If you're still with me, leave a comment with the number 6. It's my little way of knowing we're enjoying this journey together. Number 5, Blame It on the Boogie, The Jacksons, 1978. Let me tell you a secret about the music industry. Sometimes the biggest magic comes from a total accident. You probably think this song is the ultimate piece of authentic American R&B. Well, the truth is actually quite funny. This legendary track was written by a completely unknown white guy from England. His name? Mick Jackson. Yes, Mick. You really cannot make this stuff up. The Jacksons' managers heard his demo at a music fair and practically stole it, rushing their own version into production before the original writer could even react. They needed a massive hit, and they simply did not care where it came from. Listen to that infectious brass section, combine that with Michael injecting pure, innocent joy into the microphone, and you get a groove that completely ignores racial boundaries. It hit number 8 in the UK, but its real power was emotional. In an era full of political tension, people desperately needed this kind of escape. It is just a happy, simple tune that makes you want to grab your loved one and spin them around the living room. As for the original Mick Jackson, he lived very comfortably on those royalties, forever tied to the greatest entertainer on earth. Number 4, Off the Wall. Michael Jackson, 1979. Let us talk about cutting the cord. By 1979, Michael was 21 years old and he was completely exhausted by his father dictating every single move he made. When writer Rod Temperton brought him this track, it was supposed to be a simple weekend party tune. But Michael turned it into a psychological manifesto. Pay attention to those opening seconds again. That creepy synthesizer does not sound like a disco song. It sounds like a thriller movie. It is the sound of a young man stepping into the dark, alone for the very first time. Then the bass drops, and suddenly, all that fear turns into pure confidence. And those lush background choirs? That is just Michael stacking his own vocals layer by layer, because he finally realized he did not need his brothers to back him up anymore. It climbed to number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. But the most telling part is the reaction of the old guard. The conservative executives at his former label were genuinely puzzled by this darker, mature tone. They desperately wanted the obedient little boy with the afro back. Well, life does not work that way. He essentially looked them in the eye and proved that boy was gone forever. Honestly, thinking about that raw courage makes you emotional. He risked the entire family legacy just to find his own identity. By walking away from safety, he gave us the ultimate declaration of independence, laying down the rules for every modern artist you hear today. Number 3, Shake Your Body Down to the Ground. The Jacksons, 1978. Nothing scares a record executive more than a teenager with a clear vision. When Michael and his younger brother, Randy, brought this demo to the label, the men in suits absolutely hated it. They complained the melody was too repetitive, lacking a traditional pop structure. What followed was a literal Cold War inside the recording booth. The brothers had to fight tooth and nail to keep their song alive. They used a state-of-the-art 24-track tape machine to stack those synthesizers until the studio walls were actually rattling. That repetition the executives hated? That was the whole point. It was a hypnotic loop engineered to physically prevent you from sitting down. It proved the suit spectacularly wrong. It sold over 2 million copies. But beyond the money, think about the immense pressure those two young brothers faced. They risked their entire livelihood to trust their own gut. This sweaty, heavy dance track proved Michael possessed a dangerous instinct for reading the exact desires of the crowd. He was no longer just a performer. He was the boss. Number 2, Rock With You, Michael Jackson, 1979. By 1979, the world was suffering from a massive cultural hangover. The radio was flooded with loud, sweaty, mechanical disco beats. People were just exhausted. Then, writer Rod Temperton did something brilliant. He completely dropped that heavy, thumping bass drum. There's a ridiculous rumor out there that this song was originally titled, "I Want to Eat You Up." That is simply not true. Temperton actually wanted to craft something elegant, a melody that felt like a warm midnight breeze instead of a crowded dance floor. Listen to that opening drum roll by John Robinson. It is soft, incredibly smooth, and invites you in without shouting. Michael glides over those sweeping strings in a sensual whisper. He cooled down an entire generation. When the infamous backlash happened and angry crowds were literally burning dance records in stadiums, this track easily survived the fire. It was just too beautiful to hate. It spent 4 consecutive weeks at number 1. But for those of us who were young back then, this groove means so much more than Billboard numbers. It takes you right back to those quiet, late-night drives with someone you loved. The kind of night where you did not need to scream over the music just to feel a connection. He gave us a temporary sanctuary of pure elegance, leaving a gentle memory that we still hold on to today. Number 1. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, Michael Jackson, 1979. The most massive shift in modern music history did not happen in a $1 million studio. It started with dirty dishes. Michael was just standing in his mother's kitchen in Encino washing plates when a bassline simply would not leave his head. He literally dropped the sponge, ran to his brother Randy, and they started banging on glass bottles just to capture the rhythm before it faded away. Listen to that famous spoken intro. He whispers for 10 seconds, drawing you in like he is sharing a deep, personal secret. And then producer Quincy Jones unleashes pure musical chaos. The string section does not sound like classical music here. It sounds like a sudden, overwhelming rush of pure adrenaline. It is a frantic, wildly complex arrangement, yet Michael glides through it completely effortlessly. It smashed its way to number 1 and won him his very first solo Grammy. But the numbers do not tell the whole story. For those of us watching back then, we saw something magical happen in real time. We saw a shy, tightly controlled young man finally cut the strings and become a king. This was not just a best-selling hit. It was the exact, undeniable moment he became the global icon that would rule the rest of our lives. From a pile of unwashed dishes to a stranger named Mick and a sweaty Cold War against men in suits. We did not just look at old records today, we witnessed a young man mastering human behavior to conquer the world. That rhythm might belong to the 70s, but that feeling of pure liberation belongs to us forever. If you want to keep this time machine running, make sure to subscribe. Now, I want to hear your story. Which of the grooves still makes you stop everything just to listen? Leave your memory down below.